Monday, so it's our update for Leo Glossary and music on Leo and everything else involving Leo projects. I have Taskmaster here with me, and yeah, we're going to get going. Um, so, Task, I noticed recently that when I'm looking at music on Leo, that when I look at the tag, there only so many songs come up. Is there a reason why that's happening?
I believe, and we're probably missing a lot of stuff. Hi, excuse me. Hive SQL got hacked, and since that time, there's a whole bunch of stuff down. There's all kinds of problems with trying to pull data from the chain. Even I was having problems today with Hive blocks going down the block explorer. So there's a lot of issues with nodes and Hive SQL. Leo is tapping into and going to build on their node half SQL. In fact, they were in the process, but it wasn't completed. So this accelerates things. So there's just all kinds of issues. And yeah, I mean, you go to a community, there's only a handful of the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 threads, and that's it. You scroll down your page and it kind of times out, it blows up and gives you an error message. It just all kinds of stuff all over the place.
So, Leo's building a new SQL for just Leo stuff, then.
Well, their half Hive application framework is a layer two that block trades, among others, have been working on for the last couple of years. And what it is it's a secondary layer of servers that allow applications to utilize, but it's not it's not blockchain. The blockchain people will send the data to the half nodes, and then the applications only have to tap into the half nodes. So anything like a hard fork, any updates, anything that has to be taken care of at the blockchain level, the applications don't have to worry about that because those will be taken care of by the blockchain people and that'll be fed into half. And then half allows them to organize their databases for whatever they want to pull and whatever data that they want to show up. So, for example, the new dashboard is going to be using half, and you know that will have the data that Leo wants to pull in terms of. I really haven't looked closely at the dashboard, but in terms of your number of threads, in terms of your number of Leo power, your high power, all the things that are listed on the dashboard that are kind of grayed out. That'll come from half SQL.
Okay, so that's in the works.
Yeah, it's in the works. It's been in the works, and now I guess it's accelerated. And I have no idea what's going on with any of that. It's just the Hive SQL's down, so I'm like whatever. I just do what I do.
Right.
Not my department. I mean,
Keep
even
putting stuff
I
out.
don't understand what the hell they're doing anyway. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Be like everybody else and piss and moan and whine about it? It's like, it is what it is.
Right. You just keep putting stuff out there, and when it gets up there, it gets up there, right?
Well, certain things work, certain things don't. So it's just a matter of having enough things to do that you switch from one to the other. And I haven't had a problem. Granted, I'm on desktop, but I haven't had a problem doing any posts whatsoever. So, I mean, I've been able to do Leo Glossary stuff through long form no matter what happens. And today, I mean, today the site was down, but if you know your way around, I mean, I was posting songs today, and they wouldn't show up, but I was, as long as High Block's there, I can go and grab the I can go grab the URL and then pop that in. Or actually, it's not the URL. You're grabbing, the extension for that exact thread. I go in and replace the last 7 digits out with the new one, and there's the thread. It's right there.
Wow.
So even though it's not showing up, I mean, nothing right now with polls and video is showing up on the main feed. But even though it wasn't showing up on my profile page, I mean, I had it, and then of course I was building a singles page out of it, so I was just taking it and transferring that over. And now I don't give a crap if it gets buried or not.
Okay.
Well, because I know it's on there, and I also have a record of it because it made it to the blockchain. I can read that in the Block Explorer, and I have it on the singles page, so it's not lost. Um, hopefully all this stuff is getting indexed, and that'll help down the road with different iterations of making, especially music on Leo, something more legit.
Okay. And what's going on with like the rest? So this, I mean, this impacts pretty much everything on what's going on with Leo.
Yeah, I mean, Three Speaks had problems, eSynths had problems, Peak D's had problems. I mean, you're talking, it's a major vulnerability when your SQL was from one witness, basically. Arcane ran it, and it was his, and he got hacked. I haven't heard how or what took place. Quite frankly, don't care. But that's certainly a major issue. And again, half is going to alleviate that. And it was said on the AMA the other day where Leo is going to set up theirs. They're probably setting up a second API node. They're going to put half on there also, and they'll let other front ends use it. And they'll probably go and submit a proposal to, get reimbursed for the maintenance and the upkeep on the second one. Which Cal said would be a fraction of what we paid for, the one we have now. And then a bunch of people can use it. It'll be open source if anybody wants to take that and throw it on their own API, they could do that too. But again, that's down the road in the works.
So really, I mean, what can we do until then? We can just do what we're doing, basically, right? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, the Threads has worked for the most part today. It was down, and I think that was a Leo problem. It was down because they were doing an update, and Cal's put out a thread and said this week's AMA is canceled, and next week they have a major update between now and then, which they'll talk about. And so I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in the works in terms of the functionality. But as I said, I mean, other than, the occasional where a thread takes, 10 minutes to show up on your feed, I mean, it's really nothing new that I've experienced. But then again, I'm very specific in where I focus my attention. And if something's not working, I just quickly switch to somewhere else because there's always enough stuff to do. And, the last 36 hours or so, I've just been doing polls. I've done 200 damn polls in the last 36 hours. I mean, I slept in between. I
was going to say, darn.
Straight through, but I've just been doing polls and, of course, building pages because I had put that on the back burner, knowing polls were coming, but they weren't functioning. And finally, yesterday, I got it to function. I don't know if it's something that I figured out or something they did, but the fact of the matter is now I can do polls on songs, and I've been doing that, and I've been creating the songs, but it doesn't do me much good to just create random songs because after I do more than five, they're lost because the music on Leo, there's no way to capture it. And actually, even when you put a video, an embedded video with the poll with the tag, it doesn't show up.
Oh,
So those are going to be lost unless you know who's doing it or it's done and immediately captured. And so obviously when I do it, I know I did it, and so I'm throwing it right on the singles page or creating a page. I did a big one for Lionel Richie, for example. I just added a shitload more to Elton John. We had a page set up for that, but I just added like 35 more
wow.
songs to Elton John, and all 35 of those have polls in it. I redid Def Leppard, but I'm not going to go and redo any of these because maybe we'll get the ability to add polls to existing threads, which I hope we do. If not, then we have to start replacing out all that stuff at some point. But for now, it's like anything in database management. You go point forward, and uh, it was like in electronic archival systems when we sold them. People would often ask, "Well, how do I start? Do I go back from day one?" And it's like, no. Leave your old paper files, start from today. Anything you're holding today, get that into the system and go forward. Then as you pull older stuff out, don't put it back in the file cabinet, scan it all in. And it's the same thing here. So until we know if we're not going to be able to get the ability to update and add polls to an older thread, we should just keep adding more music, and that's what I'm planning on doing. Is just looking at it and adding a bunch more songs to it to grow the database too. With that's been stagnant.
So basically, everything you've added, all the new songs, they're all new threads with the polls and the tag, and then whatever is.
Yeah, because I can't go into an older thread like even if it's a song like a Stairway to Heaven. I cannot if I put that one up, which I don't know if I did, but I can't go to a song like that, edit it, open it up in the edit, put a poll in, and the poll appears. It doesn't work. It won't do the poll won't appear. So I have two options. I have the option of putting up a new poll, which I did with Def Leppard, or excuse me, put up new thread, taking the song, embedding it, just creating a new thread with the poll in it, and then replacing that in the singles page. I did that with Def Leppard. I did the whole page because I was the one who submitted that. But then I thought about it. I'm like, well, this is stupid because what happens if we do get this capability? Then I'm going through all this for nothing. Uh, so, and I can only do my stuff anyway. I mean, if like in Elton John, you put up some of them. I mean, I couldn't do anything with them. I mean, I guess I could replace it out, but that's about it. I couldn't, open up your thread and edit it anyway. So, outside of those 30 or so for Def Leppard, everything the last 2 days, the 170 give or take, are all new songs. And as I said, I did a Lionel Richie page. I can't remember what the hell I did. I added Elton John. I did added to Elton John. I did Lionel Richie. I don't know. I did a couple other singles pages that were.
What was the one I saw? Oh, it was Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, I did Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. So, I mean, I've done a 4 or 5, 3, 4, 5, something like that, that are new pages that we didn't have new artist pages. And then there's the, like I said, with Elton John, I added some more too. And so of the, whatever, let's say there's 45 songs there, about 10 were there. So 35, 37 have songs.
Wow.
A couple of them had been mine. And so I just went ahead and replaced them.
Right, I remember. And then Adam Barrett had I think it was Crocodile Rock in there.
Yeah, there were a bunch of people with a few songs in there, but and that's going to happen. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I did replace one out because I know she was grabbing stuff from YouTube playlists. So they just the song would end and it would go on to another. It was on autoplay when you grab them from a playlist. So I replaced her out because it's like, well, this is just repeating, so this is pointless. It defeats the purpose if somebody just hits play and they get 18 songs. It's like, well, that's not what we want. So
No, because we want to open the pages.
yeah,
When
exactly. We want them to go on to the next song that they have to click on something. So it's just another part of what we discussed last week with the ability to repurpose this stuff out, with the ability to think ahead, and it all starts with small numbers, but build the numbers. And we were putting in as I was putting the songs up, I would throw them in the party room, and they would click and open them up and vote on them. Uh, so this is all activity, and it's what happens if we get 10,000 songs with 10,000 polls in them, which we'll get to that. I mean, it's might take a while, but we'll get there, and
yeah, right.
that that's 10,000 active polls. I mean, people don't realize that. And you keep growing from there. And people say, well, there's a lot of polls that were done in the past. Yeah, but there were polls like, what should I have for breakfast? Eggs or donuts? I mean,
Why
it,
do
it,
we care?
well, yeah, it's like, do you think the price of Bitcoin will go up or down? It's like, even stuff, who do you think will win the election next week? Well, I mean, it's a valid poll, but the day after the election, it's an irrelevant poll. Nobody
Right.
cares. Nobody's going to vote on it. But that's why music playlists. We started putting polls in the playlists. There's probably been 4 or 5 playlists that have polls put in them, and containers. Coyote Elation did a container on what the fuck was it? Oh, Saving Private Ryan, and he put all kinds of YouTube movie clips from YouTube in there, but he put a poll uh, in the main thread on his container. You can vote on that container today, or you can vote on it 5 years from now. It's hell, the movie's probably close to 30 years old. So I mean, it's not like the movie's going anywhere. Um, these are the things where I talk about the stickability and the filling a database that actually builds, and you're not starting over from scratch the next day. And that's unfortunately what most of the content on Hive is. But with movies, with music, these are two areas that, you know, I'm trying to think of what the hell. Oh, I watched The Paper the other day. Remember that movie with Robert Duvall and Michael Keaton? Christ, that's got to be 30 years old, maybe over 30 years old.
Yeah, I remember it. I don't remember when I saw it. Might have seen it last, but I
Yeah.
vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 30-year-old movie. So, I mean, this is the thing. This stuff doesn't go out of style, it doesn't go out of date. And that's where I think these polls can be helpful for. Now, we can't put any polls on the movie pages because um, they're not working on long form. But
Mm.
but then again, on long form, I mean, I can go on every Leo glossary page and say, put a poll. Was this page helpful? Yes or no? Um, don't know if I'm going to. That's a lot of work for probably not much return. But I mean, these are just some things that you can do. And, it's all part of trying to add to the utility.
Now you were talking about containers Friday on the Lions Den. So
Hmm.
that's like a container is everything and anything about related to whatever. So like you said, Saving Private Ryan. So it could be um, actors, um, what the movie is based on?
No, I mean, what he did is he's doing the same thing I did with Breaking Bad and The Sopranos. I did containers for them, and The Sopranos has probably 100 YouTube videos in it that I just went and captured of all Soprano clips. It's there's no full episodes. It's from YouTube. It's a 5 minute clip here. It's a 8 minute clip there. It's some of these clips are the best. The best. The best killings in The
Well,
Sopranos, or the best one-liners, or whatever from Jer Garofalo or whatever his name was.
oh, yeah.
It's just crap. Just stuff you see on YouTube, and all it is a container. Is I mean they're labeled, so they'll show up on the labels once the label the tagging's figured out. But a container puts it all together. First off, it doesn't make the latest feed look so spammy because you don't have somebody just putting up 100 different videos. So they're all on the second layer, if you will. It's like a thread storm. I mean, that's what all this shit is it's a thread storm. A thread
So,
storm playlist is a thread storm. A threadcast is a thread storm. A container is a thread storm. It's all the same thing. You put the main thread there. You put whatever's in the main thread. Then you open it up and you answer it. And
okay.
what you put in is a comment to the main thread. And so what I did is for The Sopranos, I answered myself 100 times, but each time I answered was with a YouTube video. And that's the same thing we do with the playlist. We create a playlist and we put a picture in. We say this is Cher's playlist or whoever, and then we put in either, we put in the name and the song and the YouTube embed, and boom, there it is. That's what it is. A container is the same thing as a playlist, except we're not focusing it on music. It's in this instance focused on a movie. I put it on a TV show. I mean, you could do it. You could do a container of
Law and Order Recipe.
a container of comedy sketches. You could do, a container of cooking recipes or shows. You could do a container. I mean, doesn't even have to be videos. You could do a container of whatever you wanted. I mean, you could literally do a container of U.S. states, and each thread is a state with the capital, with the population, with the governor, whatever you want to put in there, and boom, 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 and have 50 of them. I mean, Threads is so flexible, and that's what I said on the lines, Den. People need to start getting innovative and creative and think of ways to tie this into other things. And I just keep coming up with ideas. It's not that difficult.
Well, like I was looking at George Carlin clips the other day,
There you go.
or Sebastian Maniscalco.
There you go. You could do that. I mean, whatever you want. I mean, it could be anything. And if you're tagging it, then it'll appear in those tags, whether they're in a container or not. Doesn't really matter. But all of this feeds into, hopefully, at some point, we will get thread-based recommend algorithms. And so there's where the relationship between the information is helpful. So hopefully if somebody's watching a Sopranos clip, they will have other Soprano clips recommended for them, essentially other Soprano threads recommended for them. That's what you hope eventually happens. And that's how, again, keeping in mind page views, keeping in mind clicks, keeping in mind advertising revenues, keeping in mind personal page views that happen under our stuff, that all feeds into it. And I'm looking to dominate that revenue simply because I have the most shit up there. That's my goal, is to have the most stuff there and connect as much of it together. And if somebody wants to try to match me in that, go for it. It's not a fixed pie. So the more clicks, the more money that's made. But, I mean, people are putting up their same stupid crap. And it's like, okay, I'm all for enjoyment, but what the hell is that going to do for you a year, 2 years, 5 years from now? It's like I look at what's showing up in the party room, because the party room, a lot of it is just taking the URL and throwing it in there. It's a lot of Adam Barrett, myself, you, Boomer Tunes, Finding Freedom, and a couple other people. That's it. Coyotelation now, because they're the ones who've filled the database. So, and as I said, I probably added close to 170 songs in the last 2 days. Well,
Wow.
those are 170 threads that aren't lost forever. Nobody else did 170 threads over the last 2 days, but you go to the average person and say, okay, where are your last 170 threads? They're gone. They're history. Even if they had something decent in them. And that's the difference. That's why I think music on Leo, that's why I think a lot of these ideas of containers even better than a threadcast, because again, do you give a crap about the threadcast that was related to last week's AMA? No, who cares? It's not relevant. But a container to Saving Private Ryan, if you're interested in that movie, well, I like the movie. I like Tom Hanks. I like Dead People. I like whatever. Okay. And then you see, I don't know how many videos he put up, but let's say it's 20 videos. Well, there's 20 videos you can watch of the movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some good ones of the Die Hard movies.
Yeah, I mean, by now this is what makes YouTube so powerful. They got so much shit up there. They got so much content, and it's so old that you look at some of these videos or some of these clips or whatever.
Mhm.
They're 15 years old, 14 years old, and they've been viewed millions and millions and millions of times, and there's millions and millions and millions and millions of videos. You can find videos on any topic, I am sure. I mean, as long as it meets their requirements.
Right.
You're not gonna find porn or, how to kill your ex-wife and get away with it. Well, although that might be on there, I don't know. But that's the point. It's like, what the hell's in our database? Nothing. So that's where I've been trying to focus the attention and say, this is where you get those big numbers from, is because you have a million polls, and not a million garbage polls. I'm talking a million polls that are ongoing. Like, here's a poll. What do you think the 67 Mustang, greatest car ever, classic, or overrated? I mean, people who are car enthusiasts, they could vote on that for the next 20 years.
Right.
If you're not a car enthusiast, you don't really care. But it's like, here's one that I talked about on my video that I made earlier. Which Star Wars trilogy is the best? And you list the 3 different trilogies they have, whatever they're called. They each have a name. That's something that people, I mean, they've been arguing about it forever. They can argue about it for the next 10 years.
Yeah, they have definite opinions about.
Yeah. It's like, who are the top? Who is the best in the Mount Rushmore of basketball? Who's the greatest of all time? Wilt, Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, or Bill Russell? Well, first off, just having that poll, you'll have people who say, well, what about Kareem? Kareem has to be in there. So that right then it starts excitement. And again, it's a poll they've been arguing for years, or a topic they've been arguing for years.
Mhm.
Somebody could just see that 5 years from now and vote on it and say, oh man, you all are stupid. It's Jordan. I mean, these are things that you throw up there. They have staying power.
Because again, people have definite opinions about, like, there's people who like Star Trek, like the original, and don't like any of the other like offshoots of Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff could be polled, and if it's captured and tagged properly, um, you know, Star Wars versus Star Trek, that's an age old question. That could be in a poll that could get thousands of votes in either direction because, again, somebody new 5 years from now, do you like Star Wars better than Star Trek? It's like that person can vote on it. Will the price of Bitcoin exceed 50 grand in 5 years? If it's 500 grand, it's kind of a stupid poll. It's a non essential poll.
Right.
Uh, you can do this with just about anything. You can do it with classic television, with classic cars, with hobbies, with geography. I mean, anything that could be formed as a question could be formed as a poll.
Well, like remakes of movies or sequels or what.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's how's this for one? You could use the container idea, and I'm trying to think of maybe you can think of one. Think of a song that's been covered by not only done by the original artist, but covered by two or three other groups. I'm trying to think of one. Um, well, let's say "Take Me Home, Country Road" because I just did a John Denver. There's another one. I did a John Denver page, and now I know that song's been covered by he did it. That song's been covered by one of them like bluegrass groups, and there was another group that did it. So, but okay, what if you did this? You take the container idea and you say, okay, which version of "Take Me Home, Country Roads" do you think is the best? And you put up your poll, John Denver, Hick Bluegrass Group, whatever, Group C. And then underneath, you put each version of the song.
Right.
There's a simple idea that it just came off to me, but it's like, well, that has staying power. That has the ability to, get people to check it out. You could tag it. It could be found, and if somebody sees that 5 years from now, they can do the same thing. And you could do it with a movie, like you said. If there's a remake of it, and maybe put the trailer of each movie. I mean, just little things like that can really add up.
That's like my husband Roy watches the Total Recall with Arnold or the one with hell's his name?
Yeah, I know
Oh,
they redid it. I don't. I don't watch a lot of any of the remakes because I'm more. I mean, I lived when they were made. I was a kid, and or teen, or in the 20s, and it's like, no.
why did you do that? We
Yeah, well,
know.
look at that clown. No, Arnold is in that role. What are you, a moron? You know, it's like it's like watching Jeopardy. It's like, who is this clown? That's not Alex.
Right.
That's some clown. You know, he's pretty good. No, he's not Alex. It doesn't matter. It's like having the Larry King show without Larry King. You can't do it. It doesn't work. He's not Larry King. I don't care who you put on there.
Or
So
having yeah, what was the other one? God. Oh, The Price is Right without Bob Barker. I
yeah,
mean,
it's but they've done that with the Tonight Show for years. They always had different. There's another one. Who is a better host of the Tonight Show? Jackass, whoever is doing it now, I don't even know who does it.
I haven't watched it in forever, so I don't.
Yeah, but Leno, Carson,
Jack
well,
Parr from
yeah,
years ago.
yeah. I mean, you could do Steve Allen. You could do that. I mean, the point being, when you start to think about threads, you start to think about polls, and you start to think about tagging. And with search, this starts to bring up enormous potential. And in fact, I think I need to start to use the tag polls. Maybe not the music because that'll get spammy, but uh, and we have other ways of capturing that. But I mean, it's just an example. Kind of got off a little off of Leo Glossary, but I don't know why people have so much difficulty thinking up things to do.
So, I mean, you can even do like, I suppose, financial stuff for containers.
You could absolutely, you could. I mean, you could put any type of information you want in containers. You could put recipes, food recipes in there. You could put, I mean, anything can go. Anything that's information, and we have to remember we're in the information economy. Everything's information tied to information, and information is in databases. So I don't know why people have such a tough time figuring this out. Is anything you do on the internet is you're looking at a database. Anything you do on the internet is tied to a database. It's a front end tied to a database. You go to YouTube, that's a database. You go to Twitter, that's a database. You go to Amazon, that's a database.
Oh yeah, eBay.
eBay is a database. I mean, people are uploading stuff into the database, and then the front end reads the data, and it's assimilated in a fashion that we can read and understand. And then they combine databases because one may have pricing and the other has descriptions. But the point being, it pulls this all together so we get what we're presented with. But what are you putting in the damn database on Leo? And so that's my goal, is to try to find 20 people who just say, screw it, we're going to put in some really good stuff that is going to get big numbers, and over time we'll get a lot of activity.
Yeah, again, the possibilities are infinite if you just sit there and you know invest some time to think about things that you like, or like,
Exactly. That's it. What do you like? If you whatever anybody says they like, they could put it in there. That simple. I mean, and it
well,
could be
someone was
it could
asking about
be
DIY the other day. I said, well, I mean, so you could put in, they were asking, I think they asked how to tag it. I said, well, like maybe crafting or like something along those lines.
yeah,
DIY isn't just crafting though. You can do DIY household repairs or
yeah. I mean, it's tagging is a way that stuff can be found, um, and linked together. But again, people don't think about this. So I'm trying to think for like Music on Leo in particular. Where are we going to be in 6, 7, 8 months in terms of capabilities? And so if search is enhanced, if the recommend feature shows up, and it may not be 7 months, it may be a year, it might be 18 months. Hell, I don't know. But this is all stuff that I hear is on the drawing board. This is stuff that is applicable. Just like I knew at some point polls would be back. I knew at some point polls was coming to long form content. Well, we still don't have them. They're there, but they don't work on in Leo or on Labs. But this is, I'm not going to wait till this stuff's here to start working on it, because what we're doing now is we're filling the damn database. 200 songs were not going to show up on their own. And maybe at some point, a lot of this stuff gets replaced out if I can figure out a way to get it into Speak without any problems. I'll do that. And then, we won't use a YouTube embed. We'll use a 3Speak embed.
So you're talking about taking
the song itself and having uploaded into 3Speak, or through some front end into where they house it, which is IPFS, and then grabbing that and putting that in the embed. And that's fine too. Then you don't have to worry about the YouTube video being shut down. But at this point, I'm not really worried, especially when you grab a song that's been up for 10 years on YouTube. It's not going anywhere.
No, I mean, it's been up there all this time. Where would it go?
Yeah, YouTube's not going to take it down suddenly. It's been there, 10 years. Copyright infringement? Well, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll grab from the artist itself, from the Elton John or the whoever. They usually have accounts where they put their stuff up there.
Well, yeah, well, Chicago had a page up there, and
they have their own songs uploaded on there. I mean, why wouldn't they? If they get enough clicks, which I'm sure they do, they make money off of it. So right now my focus is getting polls and again getting their numbers up, just like with the playlist. When you're starting at zero, it's just like pulling teeth, because even now I did a bunch of polls, and okay, I'm at 200 polls. Still only 200 polls. That's nothing to brag about. That's like nothing. You need 10,000. So it's like we're in the, because it's been overlooked, we're only at like 4,300 pages or songs on the artist pages. I mean, it's been stuck there for like a month and a half. So now I'm adding back to that. Fortunately, we still have the playlist songs that go up. So, I mean, combined between the two, we're over 7,000. But, it's time to get those playlists, or not the playlist, the artist page songs, get that up, push towards 7,500.
Yeah, I was looking at the tech stacks. I'm trying to look at the tech stacks and see, like there's some songs that there's an artist page for, and like those songs aren't on the artist page. You want me to be like sending you that stuff when?
Yeah, then they can be added. Yeah, they should be added. But again, right now we may end up replacing it if we find out we're not ever going to be able to edit this stuff. That means all that old stuff it's not worthless, because there's songs on the blockchain. If you search the artist name, they'll come up. So It's not like it's not viewable. It is. Just like anything else is viewable on YouTube. How do you find anything on YouTube? You go to a search. I want Pat Benatar song. So you go to YouTube and type in Pat Benatar. If you know the name of a song, you type in Pat Benatar and the name of the song. And if it's an obscure song, maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. But, for our database, we'll have to think about that. But for right now, I mean, again, it's not the end of the world. I'm actually going through the text documents. I got a Excel spreadsheet that before you started updating it, I had the copy of it. So I don't have a lot of any of the newer stuff that you put on, but I'm just going through like I did. I think I started with Jimi Hendrix today, because I went through and saw Jimi Hendrix, and I was the only one who put up a song for it. I said, well, let me throw up a Jimi Hendrix page. So these are some of the things I'm doing to try to get more songs up there and make sure I'm not stepping on people's toes until we find out what can be done with the editing and whatnot, the adding polls. Because there's a ton of songs. I mean, Everybody, typical Hive, everybody wants to fight over the same shit. It's like there's 100 million songs on Spotify. How can you all keep tripping over the same 500 songs? There's 100 million of them out there. And, they're probably almost all on YouTube.
Yeah, and anything I've looked for pretty much is I've found. I mean, there's very few things that I looked for that I wasn't able to find, and more than one iteration of the same song.
Yeah, you're gonna do that. And depending on how popular a song is, each iteration of the song has millions of views. So uh, that's just where I get blown away, where people don't seem to see it. It's like they still keep posting the same crap. What do you think's going to happen to Bitcoin? And it's like, who cares? That thread is going to be worthless in about 7 seconds
Mm-hmm.
because it'll get buried. So, no. Or you see people complain about the notes. It's like, well, there's a productive use of time. So that's where I just say, okay, how do I get? I want to get my first goal is to get my monthly clicks. How do I get my monthly clicks to views of my threads to over 1 million in 1 month, which is over 30,000 a day, 33,000 a day. How do I do that? That's my first goal, or my main. It's a goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I got to get to 10,000 first. Then I got to get to 100,000. But how do I do that? Well, I got to get enough content up there, and I got to get enough content that's repeatable. That's the only thing I can figure. And I'm not going to be able to do it by putting up enough threads each day that I'm starting over. It just doesn't work. And it doesn't work for the entire platform either.
Yeah, so it has to be stuff that's going to be sticky.
Yeah, I mean, it's where if somebody comes across it and somebody searches that tag, and where the problem is, we're all prime examples of that, because any of us who use YouTube and put anything in the search bar on YouTube, unless we're searching for like active news, which I don't think anybody does, because if you're looking for active news, you're probably on Twitter or something like that. So you don't go to YouTube to find out who won the Super Bowl. You go to YouTube you go to Twitter for that or something. But anybody who's done a search in YouTube on any topic, you got material, and like you said, there's probably very few subjects you won't find something for. You won't find very few subjects you won't find multiple videos for, and they all have a ton of content, a ton of views.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care. Maybe they were botted, maybe they weren't. Who cares? The fact of the matter is, when you're looking at this stuff and you're looking at a video, how to change a carburetor in your Volvo. And that was uploaded in 2019. And you're seeing it today, 5 years later. That's stickiness.
Right.
I mean, the person didn't have to upload it today, so you see it. And that's my point with Leo Glossary. That's my point with movies on Leo. That's my point with music on Leo.
So people, there's just find whatever it is. I haven't done it for a while, but I like knitting and crocheting, so I look for patterns on YouTube or instructional videos, how to do a certain stitch or whatever.
That could all go into a container. You could figure out your tags, and you could just bookmark that container, and you could just keep adding to it. And that's the other thing with the container. you do 20 videos today, and then 3 months later, you come back and add 3 more videos or add a video a week. I mean, you could keep adding to it. It's if you have the container bookmarked or if you know where it is, you can just keep adding to it. Other people can add to it.
Well, yeah, look, I found this stitch, or I found a better way to do this.
Yep. Yep. And that's where people on Hive said people have always said we don't need content creators, we need content viewers. And to a degree, they're right. Well, put shit up that people care about, that's meaningful. And obviously we can't. I mean, that's going to be different. I mean, I could give a crap about your stitches on knitting, but I'm not a knitter. So I don't care. But for those who are into knitting, that is meaningful information. That is meaningful videos. And people who are into knitting may go through that container, may go through those videos and watch some of them, click on some of them, comment on some of them. They may engage. Now, for other people, they may like the New York Yankees. Now, maybe they don't. But for those who like the New York Yankees, if somebody did a container on Yankee stuff, Yankee fans may sit there and look at that. Non-Yankee fans may not, but it doesn't matter. It's there. So whatever number of videos were put up for Saving Private Ryan, I did this. I never watched The Sopranos. I never watched Breaking Bad. I did a container on Breaking Bad. I know they're two popular television programs. I never watched them. So I'm not a fan, but it's there. And I know they have a lot of fans. So people can
and Game of Thrones is another one that
I did Game of Thrones. Now I watched that one. So but I did Game of Thrones. I put up, probably 100 videos in Game of Thrones. That was the other one I did. And True Blood is the one that I was thinking of doing also.
And Dexter, my stepfather.
Dexter, there's a good one. I forgot about Dexter. I watched Dexter. I didn't watch it when it was on the air. I haven't had TV for so long, but I binge watched Dexter years later, and that was a good one. So yeah, I mean, shit. I bet you could go. I haven't done it, but I bet we could go onto YouTube, type in MASH, and
my gosh, yeah,
find videos from MASH. You can do it with Seinfeld. You can do it with what was the
Friends.
Friends, thank you. You knew where I was going. You can do
Sex in the City. The stepkids love.
There you go. Sex in the City. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube on that. I mean, it just and we're just talking television. You can do it with movies. You can do it with comedy. You can do it with stand-up. You can do it with motivation. Anything you want. You can do it with automobiles. You can do it with airlines. You can do it with railroads. You can do it with economics and finance and banks and recessions and collapses. You can do it on the Great Depression. You can do it on the mafia. You can do it on Italy. You can do it on China. You can do it on Hitler. You can do it on on Stalin. I did one the other day on space. I made a container, kind of space technology, space hotels and space elevators and colonizing space and colonizing Mars and all this other stuff, but space manufacturing. There's all kinds of videos out there on that. And it's just, you can do it on ants. You can do it on, not ants like your relative, ants.
Right. Insect ants.
Yeah, insect ants. You can do it on trees. You can do it on flowers. You can do it on, books. You can do it on authors, Hemingway. Shit, there was a guy there's got to be 1,000 videos online about Hemingway, and not only his works, but being an alcoholic and I think he killed himself, being a suicidal, and Charles Manson. I mean, Charles Manson's good for about 8 containers.
Good Lord.
You know, it's politicians and Churchill and FDR and Trump and Biden and Putin and Khrushchev, moon landing, just goes on and on and on. Volcanoes, earthquakes,
Floods.
floods, natural disasters. How about those videos that you always have of animals eating the other animals? I mean,
Oh,
people
yeah.
watch it, put that on. You know, I mean, it's just freaking cat videos. I mean, YouTube was made on cat videos. I mean, post cat videos for Pete's sake. That's what made
You do a
YouTube.
container on your otters?
No, I came up with, well, I didn't come up with the idea because I came up with the idea of containers like a year ago or 8 months ago. But no, I started doing the otters. I didn't have a container for them. I didn't correlate the two yet.
Mm.
The container idea I only really had about a week ago. So the otters, I was throwing them up. But I mean, it just, you could do one of videos on historic moments, and where they have the newscasts of you know President Reagan being shot or Kennedy being shot, with Walter Cronkite and
Oh,
moon
yeah.
landing, and just different points in history, the Berlin Wall falling, and not Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw,
Mhm.
with that broadcast. Um, it's just virtually endless, and this is why I try to get through to people. You do this stuff and you build this stuff, and it's stuff for people to use. And it's not going to happen with just music. It's not going to happen with just a few videos on Breaking Bad or Sex in the City. I mean, it takes a ton of stuff because we have to hit most areas of interest. But that's what Leo Glossary is trying to do in its own way. And a lot of this isn't even Leo Glossary, it just extends over onto Leo.
Because Leo Glossary started out on Leo Finance, which was financial.
Yeah, and now there's more movies in there than financial pages, and there's actually more actors in there than movies, actors and actresses. So that's how things morph. And now we have probably, well, I mean, there's 165 different artist pages, and over the next few months, that's probably going to move up to 500-600 because there's that much to capture. I mean, it's going to require that many to get to 10 grand, 20 grand.
Wow.
But I mean, it sounds like a lot, but 100 million on Spotify.
Yeah, right. And some whatever billion on. Yeah.
Yeah, you said 4 billion playlists. I think you said 4 billion.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Which makes sense because, I mean, so this is the stuff we have to encourage. And the only way to encourage it is do it. That's the starting point.
Because promoting this on Twitter, trying to get people over here.
Stupid. There's none there.
Right. What are you bringing them to?
Exactly. So they can see some jackass post, this is what I had for lunch? Really? And when the people who are over on Twitter promoting this aren't even here. What that makes no fucking sense. Now, when I go on Twitter, I'm going to sit here and say, look, we got 20,000 damn songs of music on Leo. 20,000 songs that have been captured and can be listened to. And by the way, 5,000 of these you can vote on, or whatever the numbers are. And we have 3,000 playlists, or whatever the numbers are. That's how you promote shit. You like playlists? Here's a sample. You like song? Hey, you like Stairway to Heaven? Here's Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven. Notice the poll. By the way, you want to vote in the poll, you better be a Hive member. Better get a Hive account. So
Well, I'm just glad the internet stayed up for this. I had my doubts in this hotel room with the free internet, but it hung on.
That's a positive.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll have a lot more news next week.
Right.
At least we'll have bigger numbers. I can assure you of that.
Sounds good. Okay, well, thank you, and we will see you guys next week, and I'll probably be in the same place. We'll still be here next week in El Paso. Okay, well, good night, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.